Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters across America and the United Kingdom, I want you to picture something with me for a moment. It won't look exciting. It won't look glamorous. In fact, it will probably look so ordinary that if you drove past it 1,000 times, you'd never give it a second thought. Imagine a row of metal doors, orange, blue, maybe green, each one with a padlock hanging in the center. The buildings are not tall, no glass towers, no modern architecture, no neon lights, just long, boxy warehouses divided into compartments. Now, let me ask you, if I told you that behind those simple, lifeless doors lies a machine that quietly prints $50,000 every single month for its owner, would you believe me? Pause for a second. Think about that number, $50,000. Not in a year, not in 2 years, but every single month. That's $600,000 a year. From what? From a business so boring, so plain, so unnoticeable that most of you have already driven past one today and didn't even bother to turn your head. I am not talking about high-tech companies in Silicon Valley. I'm not talking about cryptocurrency. I'm not talking about Hollywood films, viral apps, or billion-dollar IPOs. I'm talking about something so basic, so common, that it exists in nearly every city across America and Britain. Self-storage? Yes, storage units. The places where people leave their old furniture, their unused boxes, their forgotten gym equipment, their kids' toys, their Christmas decorations, and sometimes things they haven't touched in 10 years. And yet that dull, gray, boring business can earn more than what most surgeons, lawyers, and executives bring home in a year. Now let me lean in closer. Do you know what the most fascinating part is? Most people laugh at the idea of storage businesses. They think, who on earth pays good money to lock away junk they don't even use? And yet the truth is, tens of millions of people do. In America, it's estimated that 1 in every 11 households rents a storage unit. That's more than 10 million American families. In Britain, self-storage has become one of the fastest-growing real estate sectors, with demand rising year after year as people move into smaller flats, relocate for jobs, or simply run out of space. Think about it. 20 million people listening to me right now, and I can confidently say a large percentage of you either currently rent a unit or know someone who does. Now here's the thing, when most people rent a storage unit, they don't just use it for a month, they keep it for years. They get busy with life, they forget about it, they keep paying month after month, year after year, and those boring rows of orange doors keep spitting out cash for the owner like an ATM machine that never runs dry. Now, let me tell you a little story. A man named Tom once bought a small storage facility on the edge of his town in Ohio. It wasn't much, just a few rows of units, maybe 100 in total. People laughed at him. Why buy that? Nobody cares about storage. But Tom had done his homework. He knew that each unit, on average, could bring in $100 to $150 a month. Multiply that by 100 units, and suddenly he's making $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And that's just one small property. Fast forward 5 years. Tom now owns 3 storage facilities. His monthly revenue? Over $50,000. His annual revenue? More than $500,000. And the best part? He doesn't need to be there every day. He doesn't need to manage employees like in a restaurant or retail shop. Most of the time, it runs itself. Now pause again. Let me turn this to you. You might be thinking, that sounds too simple, too easy. There must be a catch. But that's exactly the point. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it works. And the reason it works is because human beings, whether in America or Britain, all have one thing in common. We own too much stuff. We don't want to throw it away. We don't want to sell it. So, what do? We store it. So let me make this personal. Imagine you had your own storage facility. Not huge, let's say just 200 units. You rent each one for an average of $150 a month. That's $30,000 in monthly income. Add a few more units, expand a little, maybe acquire another facility, and suddenly you're crossing that $50,000 a month mark. Now ask yourself, how many other businesses do you know that can quietly, without fanfare, without flashy marketing, without celebrity endorsements, generate that kind of steady, predictable cash flow? Most of you listening right now have probably spent money chasing after shiny things, new gadgets, new apps, maybe even risky investments. But the people who own storage facilities, they don't need the hype. They don't need the spotlight. They just collect checks every single month. Here's what I want you to understand. The most boring businesses are often the most profitable. We live in a world where attention is obsessed with what's exciting. Social media makes us chase trends. The news glorifies billion-dollar tech startups. Everyone is looking for the next flashy idea. But here's the irony. The real money, the steady wealth, is often sitting quietly in the businesses nobody talks about. Businesses like self-storage. So the next time you drive past a row of padlocked doors, don't laugh, don't shrug it off. Because someone, maybe a man like Tom, maybe even a family like yours, is quietly pulling in $50,000 a month while you keep searching for the next big thing. And that, my friends, is why you should lean in, listen closely, and follow me through this entire speech. Because I'm about to show you not just how a boring storage business makes $50,000 every month, but why this lesson might change the way you look at money, wealth, and opportunity for the rest of your life. Let me take you on a journey. I want you to step into the shoes of an ordinary person, not a millionaire, not a Wall Street banker, not a Silicon Valley tech founder. Just an everyday American or Brit trying to live a decent life. The ordinary struggle. Imagine you're a young couple in Manchester, or maybe a small family in Dallas. You're living in a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Life is good, but slowly things begin to pile up. First, it's the baby stroller you don't want to throw away because you're thinking of having another child someday. Then, it's the boxes of clothes you're no longer wearing, but you tell yourself, maybe I'll need them again. Then it's your grandmother's dining table, too big for your current flat, but far too sentimental to sell. Before you know it, your garage is full. Your spare room looks more like a junkyard than a bedroom. You're tripping over boxes just to get to the kitchen. So what do? You do what millions of other people do. You look for storage space. The storage decision. You drive past a facility every day on your way to work. Rows of orange or blue doors, high fences, a keypad gate. You never really noticed it before, but now it catches your eye. You stop in. The manager gives you a quick tour. You see rows of clean, empty spaces, 5x5 units, tungsten units, even massive ones the size of a garage. He says, just $150 a month for this one. You hesitate. $150? Every month? Just to store my stuff? But then you look at the stroller, the boxes, the table, the treadmill you swore you'd use, and you realize you're not ready to let go of any of it. So, you sign the contract. The lock clicks. The unit door rolls down. And just like that, you've become another customer. The time trap. Here's where the story gets interesting. You told yourself, I'll just keep it here for a few months until I sort things out. But those months turn into a year. That year turns into 3. Life keeps happening. You change jobs, you move cities, you get busy raising kids. And all the while that $150 keeps leaving your account like clockwork. Some months you barely notice it. Other months, when things are tight, you think, I really should go empty that unit. But then life gets in the way again. And guess what? That self-storage owner is smiling, because while you're juggling life, they're collecting your $150 month after month after month. Multiply your story by millions, and now you understand how this so-called boring business becomes a $50,000 a month money machine. A tale of two perspectives. Let me zoom out for a moment. On one side, we have the customer, ordinary people, drowning in belongings, unwilling to throw things away, needing more space. On the other side, we have the business owner, ordinary people too, but they saw the opportunity. They bought land, built units, installed gates, and waited. And now, they're quietly building wealth while everyone else is paying them rent. Let me tell you a true story, Sarah's story. Sarah, a single mother from Birmingham, was working long hours as a nurse. She didn't have much money, but she was smart with what she had. She noticed that a small plot of land near her hospital was being sold. Everyone told her, "Don't waste your savings on that. What will you even do with a piece of land like this?" But Sarah had been reading. She had noticed how many people in her neighborhood were renting storage units, so she scraped together a loan, bought shipping containers, painted them neatly, and turned them into storage spaces. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't glamorous, but in the first year, all 40 containers were rented out. Within 24 months, Sarah was making more money from her storage business than from her full-time nursing job. And by the time she expanded to a second location, she was clearing over 40,000 pounds a month. Her friends who once laughed, now they ask her how they can invest. Why this story matters. Why do I tell you Sarah's story? Because she wasn't special. She wasn't born rich. She wasn't a tech genius. She didn't have celebrity connections. She was just someone who realized something most people overlook. Boring businesses are often the safest, steadiest path to freedom. And here's the beauty of it. Every city, every town, every community has the same problem. Too much stuff and not enough space. In New York, in London, in Texas, in Liverpool, the story repeats itself. Customers renting, owners collecting, month after month. The invisible empire. Now let me tell you what's almost poetic about this. Self-storage is an invisible empire. You won't see billboards bragging about it. You won't see owners showing off on Instagram. You won't read about it in the headlines. But it's there, quiet, steady, predictable. It's the kind of empire that doesn't need to shout. And while the world chases shiny new ideas, while investors burn millions on apps that nobody uses after 6 months, while everyone tries to be the next big thing, the storage owner just collects another $50,000. The relatability factor. Let me come back to you, my listener. Think about your own home. Think about your garage, your attic, your spare room. How much of it is filled with things you barely touch? How many times have you said, "I should get rid of this," but didn't? Now multiply that by millions of people across America and Britain. Do you see it now? This isn't just business. This is human nature. We don't like letting go. We don't like parting with memories. We don't like admitting we wasted money. And because of that, self-storage thrives, wrapping the story. So when you hear that someone makes $50,000 a month from storage units, don't think of it as magic. Don't think of it as luck. It's simply the story of supply and demand. The story of human behavior. The story of ordinary people with too much stuff, and other ordinary people smart enough to provide them space. It is your story. It is my story. It is Sarah's story. It is Tom's story. It is the story of millions. And now, with that story in your heart, we can step into the next chapter where I will reveal to you the surprising truths hidden inside this business, truths that will make you see boring industries in a completely different light. This is the section where I reveal the hidden truth, the part that makes millions of people in America and Britain sit forward in their seats and think, wait, I never realized that before. The first surprise, it runs itself. You see, when people hear $50,000 a month, their first instinct is to imagine chaos. They picture dozens of employees, long hours, heavy management. But here's the surprise. A self-storage business can run with almost no staff at all. Think about it. There's no inventory to stock, no products to manufacture, no tables to wait, no food to cook, no daily transactions like in a supermarket. You don't need dosage employees. You don't need to be there every single day. Some facilities literally run with one part-time manager who answers calls, cleans occasionally, and checks the security cameras. In fact, many modern storage facilities use automated gates and digital payments, meaning the owner doesn't even need to see the customers. The customer rents online, they get a gate code, they move their stuff in, and the money just shows up. That's the first shocker for most people. This is one of the few businesses where your customers do all the work and pay you for the privilege. The second surprise, people rarely leave. Now let's talk about human behavior. When someone signs up for a storage unit, they tell themselves, this is temporary. Just a few months until I sort things out. But guess what? Most people don't sort things out. Life gets busy. They move house. They switch jobs. They start families. And before they know it, 3 years have passed and they're still paying. A study in the US found that the average storage unit is rented for over 14 months. Many are rented for multiple years. Some, believe it or not, are never emptied. Families just keep paying the bill long after they've forgotten what's inside. And here's the beauty for the owner. Every month the customer stays, that's pure recurring revenue. The third surprise, low maintenance. Let's compare it to other businesses. If you own a restaurant, food spoils. If you own a shop, stock expires. If you own a taxi service, cars break down. But in self-storage, your biggest maintenance job is repainting a door every few years. The units don't wear out quickly. The customers bring their own stuff. The electricity bill is minimal. The land doesn't lose value. In fact, self-storage facilities often last decades with very little upkeep. That's why investors love them. The ongoing costs are shockingly low compared to the income. The fourth surprise, recession-proof. Now here's one that really makes people's jaws drop. When the economy crashes, most businesses suffer. Retail stores close. Restaurants shut down. Luxury products stop selling. But guess what often goes up in demand during hard times? Self-storage. Why? Because when people lose homes, downsize apartments, or move back with family, they don't throw away their belongings. They put them in storage. Even in the 2008 financial crisis, while businesses across America collapsed, the self-storage industry continued to grow. The same thing happened during the pandemic. Demand for storage actually increased in both the US and UK as people reorganized their lives. That's why many call it a recession-proof business. The fifth surprise, it's everywhere, yet invisible. Let me ask you this. How many times in the last week did you drive past a self-storage facility? Most of you don't remember. Not because you didn't see one, but because your brain didn't register it. They're everywhere, tucked behind shopping centers, sitting along highways, hiding in plain sight. In the US, there are more storage facilities than McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subway combined. In the UK, the industry has grown by over 200% in the last 2 decades. And yet nobody talks about it. Nobody brags about it. Nobody thinks of it as glamorous. That invisibility is the secret. While everyone else is chasing the spotlight, storage owners are cashing quiet checks. The sixth surprise, the margins. Now let's get into the numbers that shock most people. A typical storage facility runs on a profit margin of 40% to 60%. Think about that. In restaurants, margins are 5% to 10%. In retail, maybe 20%. Even in tech, profits are often eaten away by growth and competition. But in storage, half of every dollar that comes in stays in the owner's pocket. That's why a modest-sized facility making $80,000 a month can still hand the owner $40,000 to $50,000 after expenses. The seventh surprise, people pay without thinking. Here's something almost psychological. When you pay your mortgage, you think about it. When you pay your phone bill, you feel it. But storage? It's such a small, recurring charge, $100, $150, maybe $200 that most people don't notice. It just slips under the radar of their budget. That's why customers rarely cancel. They tell themselves, "It's not that much, I'll deal with it later." And later never comes. For the owner, that means sticky, dependable income. The eighth surprise, the competition is weak. Now here's where the British listeners will nod in agreement. While the US has had storage for decades, the UK is still catching up. Demand is rising faster than supply. In fact, the UK has 6 times less storage space per person compared to the US. What does that mean? It means there's still massive room for growth. And here's the kicker. Unlike tech businesses where competitors can copy you overnight, storage is protected by land. You can't magically create new land next to every neighborhood. If you own the facility, you own the space, and that gives you a moat. Wrapping the surprises. So let's recap. It runs with almost no staff. Customers stay for years. Maintenance is cheap. It thrives in recessions. It's everywhere but invisible. Profit margins are sky high. Customers pay without thinking. Competition is limited by land. And yet, when people hear about it, they yawn. That's the greatest irony. The boring business is the one quietly beating the exciting ones. So, the next time you see a row of storage units, don't see concrete and padlocks. See the truth. Behind those doors is one of the most powerful wealth machines of our time.